Howdy, internet friends. Okay, so quick one here, but very important. Please watch, please listen. Knee safety. Do it. It's good. Knee ligaments are a bad design. I wish we had the receipt because they should be better. So we need to educate ourselves a little bit to take care of our knees. I am not a doctor. I do not play one on the internet. This is not medical advice. If you have any knee pain, I actually suggest going to see a doctor. In my experience, doctors don't. I should be nice. I don't have anything nice to say about doctors. I do have lots of very nice things to say about massage therapists and PT practitioners. So go see your doctor, get a referral to a physical therapist, go talk to a physical therapist, show them your movement, ask them if they think it's okay, ask them to help fix it. PTs have more knowledge of how to move than anyone else that I've had experience with. A good sports doctor is good, but there are a lot of not good sports doctors that won't give you the time of day. So PTs are the vote in my book if you're having any pain that you want to get figured out in disc golf land. So let's jump into the video. We have an internet friend who will remain nameless. Let's call it the Volunteer Protection Program. This is someone that responded to a YouTube comment and mentioned knee pain. And so I said, okay, a red flag. Show me your throw. Let's figure out what's going on. And this kind person agreed to be an example of what not to do. And in the process, we will go over what to do. So let's look at the throw first. I think it's slowed down by nature. I know I've got it slowed down. So we'll go full speed first, just so you can see it. But that's quarter speed. Here's the same thing again, full speed for reference. Doesn't look that bad full speed, but you can see the issue slowed down pretty well, I think. So just play it again and then we'll talk about it. So there's a couple things going on here that are not safe, particularly safe movements. So first, the wind up, and this is the least offensive part of the movement, I feel like. I don't really want, as people are learning to do standstills, I do not want your knee to move, like, at all. That is phase one. That is not the complete drill. That is certainly not a complete throw. It's just a balance thing and a knee safety thing, making sure that your knee won't be stressing the ligaments too much. So the knee turns back too far. Probably not by anyone else's standards, and realistically not by my standards in a full throw, but this is not a full throw, it's a standstill, so I feel like there's a different set of rules. And given we have a knee safety issue, let's double down and make sure the knee is extra super safe. So the knee is pointing further back than the toe. So if you imagine like a laser pointer from the point of your heel to the point of the ball of your foot, point of the ball of your foot, that's not a thing. You know what I mean? Your foot is pointing that way and the knee is pointing back. So because these lines cross each other, like if the knee was pointing in the same spot as the toe, it would, that's not true. Those lines wouldn't, like, perspective is impossible. I need a 3D program that lets me do this. If I had gears, I could do it in gears, but that costs $1 million. Hopefully you know what I mean. If not, let's do a demo. So I really don't want the knee to rotate backwards at all. In the context of my one leg drills, this does not move. You want to think about from basically your upper thigh down being locked in concrete. So the thought experiment I did is get a 55-gallon drum full of concrete, get your leg into it, sit there for 2 days, let the concrete dry, then do your one leg drill. Where that breaks down is your hip is going to drift forward, but there's no movement in the knee. The knee isn't bending, the knee isn't rotating. So given we don't want rotation in the knee, if I wind up like that and my knee moves, when I throw, my knee will go forward. That is the least safe thing you can do with the knee, and it undermines the drill, as does bending your knee. Later we will want to pump the hip, but that's later. Phase 1 is just lock your knee in place and find the power and the balance that you can find moving the rear hip around the front hip. I'm talking about hip sockets here. So you're moving this socket around this socket in order to make the pelvis rotate powerfully. So that's the first thing. And this gentleman, his knee drifts back a little bit. It's not a ton. Like I said, that's not the most offensive part of this motion. But let's look at what is more injury prone. So because there was some wind up in the knee on the way back, there's some forward motion in the knee. And then here we have a couple things happening. The foot is rocking up onto the outside blade edge of the foot, which is just not good for ankle ligaments or for knee ligaments, because it's putting more stress on the outside of the ankle and the knee. And the knee is bent and we're rotating on it. So we're rotating on a bent knee and it's straightening, and then it rotates while the foot is not on the ground. So then the foot gets back to the ground and everything continues to spin out around the brace. So there's a lot of power there. That's why this person experienced some pain in the elbow and the knee, but it's not going the right places. So in general, we don't want to have the foot rotate on a bent knee. It is okay to do as long as your knee is not rotating and as long as your knee is supported. So it's perfectly safe for me to step forward onto the ball of my foot, have my knee bent and go like this. Like I can spin like that and it's safe, because in order to stand that way, all of my stabilizer muscles around my knee are firing. Like I can't, if I don't, then I'm just gonna fall down. Like, correct me on that if you are a PT. But I can feel that my knee is strong and stable here, so I don't mind twisting on it because it feels okay. Same thing on the heel. I can twist on my heel, spin around with a bent knee, as long as the knee is stabilized on both sides, all four sides, however many sides you want to count. Knee ligaments are weird. I think they all cross. What you don't want is unequally loaded knee ligaments. For example, these ones. So if I do this, I'm putting a lot of stress here on the outside of my ankle, and I am not putting a lot of stress. I'm putting a lot of compression on the inside. So the compression isn't really a problem, is my understanding, but loading the tendons unequally is. So lots of stress on the outside tendons in my ankle, and the same thing happens in my knee. If I push my knee that way, I'm compressing this side and stretching this side. So there's an unequal load, right? So if you're putting all of the stress on the ligaments on this side, and then you ask your knee to do something like twist, that is bad. That is where injury comes from, is you're not loading everything equally, and then you're applying torque to the system. So any spike force that happens goes into one ligament instead of getting dissipated equally through all the ligaments. So if this is happening, that's the first thing to do, is stop that, because that's the opposite of containment, right? I'm not structurally containing my force. I'm letting my force bleed, letting my force bleed through. And that's why I don't wear shoes most of the time. Letting my force bleed through and cause problems. So you want ground contact that stays there, and when it releases, you want it to release not actively because you're intentionally lifting your toe, but because you're shifting the weight into the heel. So I'm naturally just rocking into the back. I'm not going and picking up my toe on purpose. I'm just rocking into the heel. And then because of that, the rotation and the press into the ground allows my foot to rotate. I'm not rotating my foot. I'm not lifting my toe. Those things just happen because my weight shift is rocking from toe to heel. Some people don't do that. Simon doesn't do that. He just sets down flat. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to keep his knee safe. He's very comfortable with his throw. He's not a beginner. He's not doing a progression like this. So the first thing to fix is don't let your ankle collapse. Well, the first thing to fix is don't let your knee wind up, right? If you're throwing a one leg and you wind up like this, you're going to unwind into an unsafe movement. So just leave the knee there. That's the whole point of the drill, is can you isolate your rotation to your pelvis and the left side of your body? Can you leave the knee there? And can you lock it and not have any pump? Phase 2 is you'll add some pump and try to get that timing, but you need to keep phase 2 linear. So the knee is just going up and down and it's not starting to rock side to side. So ankle stability is important. Not letting the knee drift is important. And then not spinning is okay, but it has to be done at the right time. So spinning has to be a result of the follow through, not the initial drive of the throw. So the difference is the initial drive of the throw causing rotation in the leg looks like this, right? Where everything, my head, my shoulders, my hips, my knee, my foot, all rotate forward together. That's including the leg in the axis of rotation. The opposite of that is having the leg become stationary for an instant, only pump linearly, and having the left side of your body fold into your right hip. And then the rotation happens as a result of force from the throwing arm pulling the shoulders around and force from the trailing leg bouncing off of the brace, bounce, and then follow through. So if you look at footage of anyone good, Drew Gibson, Albert Tom, all of the guys that throw far and a lot of the ladies that throw far, they have this bounce here and then swing through. The swing through is a follow through. If you don't have a bounce behind and you just come this way, it's a follow through, but I call it a spin out and not a follow through because you're not really containing any momentum in the brace. So the one leg drills are the way to fix this. You just get toe 190, turn it back 30 degrees, leave your leg pretty close to locked out, leave your hip back feeling a hamstring stretch, and then just learn how to move your pelvis here without moving your knee. If you're reasonably athletic, you should be able to get to about 300 feet just throwing like this with no walk up, no weight shift. You're just dropping this hip down and adding some power with the arm. That should get you to 300. So for the most part, there's no reason to do anything more than that, especially while we're starting. Phase 2 is you would add some pump with the front leg, so you would allow the knee to dip and then drive back up, but building on phase 1 of the one leg drill where you learn to not have the knee drift sideways. So that's the most important thing in phase 1. Phase 2, you're adding the timing of the pump while making sure to keep the knees movement linear. And then phase 3, you're adding a little bit of a weight shift, which makes the pump make more sense. But you still don't want to you want to weight shift without your knee rotating back as well, because once your knee rotates back, your front leg is going to want to be included in the axis of rotation, which is the whole thing we're trying to avoid. So those are the first 3 steps to getting your knee to move powerfully in a way that's safe. And things to avoid are ankle collapse, rotation for the sake of rotation, which means the front leg being included in the axis of rotation. And yeah, That's basically it. Don't let the knee rotate forward or at all. Don't let the knee rotate back. Don't let the knee rotate forward. So those are the three things to focus on for knee safety. Now you know. Don't hurt your knees. Thank you. Goodbye.